What's going on YouTube? So Buick is a brand in the midst of a brand revamp, and it makes sense that the first model to get their new design would be their most popular model. This is the refreshed 2024 Buick Encore GX, one of their smallest, most affordable, and stylish SUVs. So is the Encore to the Encore GX better than ever? Let's go ahead and find out. Like always, let's start off this review by popping the hood and talking about what we have. So, you have available 1.2 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine or a 1.3 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. We have the more powerful version here with the ST. It's making 155 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque.
It's routed to the ground via a CVT or a 9-speed automatic transmission. And as far as your fuel economy is concerned, it's 27 miles a gallon combined with all-wheel drive or 30 mpg combined with front-wheel drive.
Now, of course, we're going to go out for a drive a little later in this video, but what you probably really want to see is the updated exterior design, so let's get to that. Now, when it comes to this 2024 refresh, really the biggest change is going to be up here in the front design. This has the new design language, which is inspired by the Buick Wildcat concept. And this is one of the very first Buicks to apply this design language, like I was mentioning in the introduction. So as you can see, we've got their all new grille. It's kind of a trapezoidal shape here, and it is going to vary depending on which trim level. We have the sporty ST model, so that's going to give you the black finish here in the middle of the grille, sport touring exclusive, and you have a silver finish if you choose the brand new trim, the top end Avenir model. You also have the updated Buick logo, which is featuring the new Fang design. Let's come over here and take a look at the headlights. These are also new, and you now have LEDs standard across all versions of this model. At the top here is going to be your daytime running light and turn signal indicator. The main headlight itself is going to be separated down here in its own housing. There are not fog lamps on any of the models. As we take a look at the rear design, it has had less updates than the front look, but certainly some new changes have occurred back here.
Yeah, and I think overall it looks pretty handsome. Of course, if you want that more sporty, kind of coupe-like design, there's that new Envista coming up in the Buick lineup. Now, let's go ahead and break down some of the elements going on here. So we're going to start with our tail lights because these are updated this year, and see if all of the elements are LED. So we have an LED brake light portion. We have an incandescent reverse light down here and an LED turn signal indicator. So 2 out of 3 elements are LED. I'm pretty happy with that, especially for an affordable vehicle like this. Do be aware though, you have to go for at least the ST trim level or above to get the LED taillights. The very base model is going to have halogen taillights. Now, I also want to point out that the Avenir has clear taillight lenses, and dropping down to this lower area, we do have a really nice blacked out diffuser. Because we have the ST model, it's going to have a really sporty look to it. No exposed exhaust outlets, although we do have kind of a faux exhaust outlet right here outlined on the bumper.
Moving on to the wheels, you're going to have a few different choices you can pick. We have the 19-inch alloy wheels with this sport touring model. These are going to be finished in the nice gloss black, which I really like, or again with the new Avenir, you get that chrome finish. Moving up here to the mirrors, they are going to be heated, and you also have standard blind spot monitoring on all trim levels.
Now let's talk about the length of this Encore GX. Here at the side, we're looking at 171.4 inches long. And this is really where you can kind of see the most resemblance to the pre-refresh model. They didn't really change a lot in terms of the overall side design. So you have that general shape that the Encore GX has always had. Now, as far as some of the design elements, we do have roof rails if we go for an ST trim level and above. Additionally, we do also have really nice black wheel arches for this model that gives it a nice sporty look, as well as a premium look, because it's going to be the shiny black, not a matte finish. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned for this Encore GX, I'm happy to announce that Buick is including 3 out of your 4 active safety features as standard equipment. Additionally, adaptive cruise control is available on all trim levels. And that wraps up the refreshed exterior design of this Encore GX. And if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's move on to the interior. First, we'll take a look at the key fob. This is Buick's typical key fob. We do have standard smart entry with the Encore GX. You also have available remote start. And to get inside, you're just going to press the silver button here, and that will unlock the door. Now as Mason kind of moves into the interior, you're going to see a little preview of the big tech improvements that this cabin has. But first, as always, we need to talk about interior material and color options. So the preferred model is going to be the only model that comes with cloth seating. Once you get to the Sport Touring model, you have a full leatherette seat, and then the Avenir comes with a special leather trimmed seat with quilting. As far as your color choices, you have between ebony or the beige that you see here today. Now, as far as the seats themselves, 8-way power adjusting. This is going to be standard on just the Avenir trim. We have it optioned on to this ST model. But let's go ahead, climb inside, take a look at the details. Now that we're inside here, we'll take a look at the rest of the cabin materials. So starting out over here on our door trim, we have more of this beige leatherette covering all the center section. Our windows are going to be one-touch auto up and down for just the driver, by the way. Soft touch plastic along the top here. As we move to the upper dash, this is all going to be a soft touch plastic as well with a stitching detail. We have a little piece of trim right there, a leatherette that's actually going to run through the center section with a stitching detail. And then down here in your lower sections, these are going to be hard touch, but we do have a nice piano black accent through the center section. Everything feels nice and solid and pretty premium for this price point. We'll go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. But now that it's fired up, let's go ahead and cut straight to the chase here and take a look at our new technology. So as you can see, we have this dual screen setup, but it does kind of go into one piece that curves around. Really looks nice inside of the cabin with the winged look to it. And right here with our gauge cluster, this is a new standard feature, 8-inch digital gauge cluster. So you can change different elements of this design, customize it to what you like. Right now it's in a very minimalistic mode, which I think looks quite nice. Now as you pull back to the steering wheel, this is another new element. As you can see, again, updated Buick emblem. We have the nice flat bottom design here, and it is going to be leather wrapped. Of course, it's going to be manual tilt and telescoping, and then steering wheel heating will be included standard on the Avenir. We also have it optional here on the Sport Touring trim level. Now I'll turn over here and we'll get into the interior storage. Underneath our center console, you have a little shelf here, but if you remove that, that's where you're going to see the rest of your storage. As you can tell, pretty deep. And then you have another pretty deep storage area right in front of that. 2 cup holders. And then in the very front here, we have a nice large cubby. This is a wireless phone charging pad. We've got USB-C and USB-A, as well as a 12-volt outlet. Next up, we'll take a look at our shifter. As you can tell, this is a traditional style shifter, so you're just going to pull back for drive. You can manually control with these little toggles. There are no paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then when we go into reverse, you're going to be surprised to see a 360-degree camera system available on all trim levels of this Encore GX. It's a pretty premium feature to have in this segment of vehicle, and as you can tell, you got a lot of views you can switch between and a nice resolution on board. Back behind the shifter, you have your electronic parking brake. Now as we rise on up here, we've got a manual climate control setup right here on the ST. You can get a dual zone automatic by choosing the Avenir trim level. We do also have the available 3-stage heated seats. Of course, seat ventilation is not going to be available, but you didn't really expect that in this segment of vehicle. Now let's rise on up here and look at the other half of this display setup. So this is a very large display for a vehicle in this class. This is now 11 inches, and it is standard on every single trim level, even the base model. It's also running the newest infotainment software. So this is going to be an Android Automotive based infotainment system. So you can see the latest graphics. You have different buttons, including one to pull up your camera and shortcuts along the side there. You'll also notice these buttons right here. That's because we have standard wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. We also have a standard 6-speaker sound system on all the trim levels, but we're on a bit of a time crunch today, so I'm not going to pair my phone and give you a sound sample. Rising above here, we've got the manual dimming mirror. You can actually get an auto dimming mirror, but you're going to have to choose the top-end Avenir version. And then as we move to the top here, we'll find a pretty impressive feature. As you can see, we actually have a panoramic sunroof. This is very rare for this segment, and it's available as an option on all trim levels of this Encore.
And let's check out the rear seat of this Encore GX. Now, as far as the overall space is concerned, typically things in this segment can feel a little cramped and not so luxurious, but I'm happy to say that really neither of those things are true for this Encore GX. 36 inches of legroom, a little over 38 inches of headroom, so a good amount of headroom. So I'd say if you're 6'2" or less, you're going to fit back here perfectly fine. I did bring my handy dandy bendy ruler here to see how much knee space there is with the seat adjusted. Drew's 5'8", I'm 5'9". We're sitting at about 5 inches of space. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. There is acres of space for me to fully slide it in. Now, as far as here in the center, no vents on this model. We do have a little storage cubby down here. We're going to have 2 USB ports, which I do like that aspect of it. It does look like we have a spot for what could be a household style outlet on the higher end models. It is worth noting, heated rear seats are not available on any Encore GX. Additionally, we do have a fold down center armrest with cup holders inside. Turning to our door trim, the top part is going to be hard touch plastic, but we do have leatherette going through all the middle part as well as the armrest portion. Additionally, there is some bottle storage down at the very bottom. Now, walking up to the tailgate, we do have a Power One on this ST model. Additionally, a hands-free Power One is on the Avenir trim level. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, 23.5 cubic feet behind the second row seats. This cargo cover is a little bit in the way, but if we fold it down and just reach up there and fold it like so, they do fold 60-40 split. And inside of here, once we have our seats folded, we're looking at a little over 50 cubic feet of maximum cargo capacity. So that's a really good amount of space for anything in this segment of vehicle. Really, that's pretty impressive. Now, as far as other features, we have lighting here on the side. Additionally, we do have a spare tire integrated up underneath of the cargo floor. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the refreshed 2024 Buick Encore GX. We're definitely excited to show you what's under the hood of this vehicle, how the powertrain comes together. And we'll be talking about a lot of different things in this test drive, including getting our signature sound level reading. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a hard acceleration.
There's an acceleration up to 60 miles per hour. Now, when it comes to this Encore GX, like we mentioned at the spec dump, you've got 2 different powertrains that you can choose between. It is going to depend on which trim level you pick, though. So if you have the base model, that will get you the 1.2 liter turbocharged for 3-cylinder.
It's not very common, but
right. You know, this does have 2 turbo 3-cylinder engines, and that is kind of uncommon for the segment, but we have plenty of power on board, especially when you choose this model here with the 1.3 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder, 155 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque. That's really good torque, especially for the segment, and I think you'll feel that as soon as you get on the throttle.
Yeah, the torque is definitely what I felt the most upon that initial acceleration. If you're curious about the base motor, how much horsepower that has, it's 137 horsepower, 162 pound-feet of torque. So really not a massive difference in terms of power and torque, but it is nice that you have more power for choosing one of these upper-end trim levels.
Yeah, not too shabby at all for this segment of vehicles. A lot of these are like so slow. You're like, oh my gosh, keep going. You can do it. You can get to 60. This doesn't feel like that at all. Let's talk about the other aspect of the powertrain, the transmission. So with this, again, there's going to be two different choices. If you choose a front-wheel drive model, you're going to get a CVT. If you choose an all-wheel drive model, you're going to get a 9-speed automatic transmission. So you probably could tell that we do have the 9-speed automatic transmission. This transmission seems to behave pretty good. Plenty of gears to choose from, of course. When you put your foot down, takes a little beat there, but then finds the right gear and gets you plenty of power.
Yeah, and I think that's a big step up from the CVT.
Definitely.
Mean, not that we have a huge issue with that, CVT, but also just having a traditional 9-speed automatic is definitely going to be a step up for those of you who especially like to drive. Now, as far as a few other things I want to talk about, I want to just go ahead and hit the fuel economy figures. So with this all-wheel drive, we're sitting at 26, 28, 27 miles a gallon combined, which is pretty good fuel economy. If you choose the front-wheel drive models, you're going to be sitting at 30 mpg combined. The 1.2 and 1.3 have the same combined rating. They have a few slightly different figures going on there, but the same 30 mpg combined, regardless of which motor you pick. Not bad whatsoever. But now that we're going 55 miles an hour, what I want to do is our signature sound level reading. Now, do keep in mind, we are on a press drive. We can't control where those are, so we are in Michigan, so this is not our home turf in Kentucky, but the road is relatively smooth. I'd say it's a little bit louder than our average testing, but let's go ahead and just see what it is.
Yeah.
Settled in at 59 decibels even, which is certainly not a bad sound level reading, especially when you consider that we're on a little bit of a rougher road than our normal test. Now I'm on our all-new Car Confections website checking out how this compares against other subcompact SUVs, because this is a very handy website. You guys should go check it out, www.carconfections.com, and you can see all of the vehicles in this segment, see how it rates. That actually places it pretty much in the middle of the segment, and we are on a Michigan road, so I'd say this would be definitely on the lower end. It tested less than the Chevy Trax, which we recently sampled out. That was 61 decibels.
Makes sense because this is a more premium product, so they have probably added a little bit more sound insulation to this model.
Yeah, and let's talk about the ride quality. You know, just kind of cruising down this highway here is a great example of just how good this Encore GX rides. I certainly have no issues with the ride quality. We do have the larger 19-inch wheels, and I mean, I can feel when we hit a bump, but really it doesn't have a lot of jar when it enters the cabin. The suspension does a really good job of just taking the harshness out of the bumps. You can kind of feel when you hit a bump, but really the overall ride quality is very, very comfortable. And I will say that these seats feel comfortable as well.
Yeah, I think overall this does feel like a comfortable place to spend time. I will also point out, you know, when you're accelerating more gingerly, you can't hear the engine at all. It's really nice and quiet. Again, in comparison to some of the competition, which is going to be really loud and strained sounding. Let's go ahead and declare today's Slam Dunk and Airball. I'll start with the Slam Dunk. That's going to be our 2024 updates. I think they did a good job of updating things to make it feel, you know, nice and modern. You've got the brand new design language on board, and especially inside the interior here, I really appreciate the new latest technology.
Yeah. And as far as our Airball is concerned, honestly, it was kind of hard for us to nitpick some of the details in here because this is a very solid overall product. The one thing that I will say is a little confusing to the general consumer is just the powertrain and engine setups, having the two different motors that basically make very similar power figures, one having standard all-wheel drive, the other one having the option between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. It's just a little confusing for the average consumer. I feel like Buick could have maybe just gone with the upper-end 1.3 liter motor on this Encore GX and called it good. And lastly, let's go ahead and talk about the warranty that you're going to get if you choose one of these. It's going to be a 3-year, 36,000 mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain. You do also have 1 complimentary visit. And let's talk pricing for the Encore GX. That's a very impressive part about this vehicle. We're starting at $26,895 for the base preferred trim level. That does include destination as well. Sport Touring, $28,095. Avenir, $33,195. Now, we don't have the particular sticker for this one, but we'll go ahead and build it out and give you an estimated price on the screen right now. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the refreshed 2024 Buick Encore GX. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help get us invited to events like this where we can sample out some of the latest crossovers and SUVs on the market, so you really play a pivotal role in making sure that we have amazing content on the channel. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support because you make this all possible. Also, if you haven't had the chance to check out our all-new website, please go ahead and do that. We also have a TikTok and Instagram page as well. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.